man walked out of the water and onto land. Lightning struck the earth, and man discovered fire. Later, man discovered the horse, invented the wheel, the horseless carriage, and the airplane. It didn't happen quickly, but that's how it happened. Man reaching out farther and farther, each step up along his way. T.D. Williamson, engineer, salesman, entrepreneur, husband, father. This film is about him.
I was born in Lancaster, Ohio, 35 miles south of Columbus, in the year 1886 on February 10th. My father had a nice grain farm there with fine horses and was quite prosperous, but he decided that he wanted a new activity and a change of scenery. So in 1888, he moved to Omaha, Nebraska.
During the years the family lived in Omaha, T.D. Williamson attended grade school and worked as a mail clerk at Swift & Company, where his father was in charge of the order department.
My father moved to Springdale, Arkansas in 1902, but I remained in Omaha until they were well established, and he purchased a nice fruit farm near Springdale on the Town Road, and he raised prize apples, peaches, and berries, particularly the large strawberries.
He graduated from Springdale High School in 1905, decided on an electrical engineering career, and entered the University of Arkansas that fall. Tuition was $15. He had 75.
The professor of engineering, Dr. Gladson, was a very capable and a very excellent individual, and he showed me many favors while I was going to the university. For instance, he put me in charge of the electrical machinery for furnishing lights to the chapel. There were no high lines at that time, and we had to provide our own lights. We had a storage battery that stored up the energy when if anything could happen, and it was a very good thing we did, because sometimes that engine failed to turn over, and otherwise the chapel would have been in darkness.
He graduated from the University of Arkansas in 1909 and went to work for the General Electric Company in Schenectady, New York, then came home in 1912 to marry Edna Mae Milan.
In the meantime, I had been offered a position by wire from the switchboard engineering department, and they assigned a date that I should be there, and we were married and went to Schenectady by way of Niagara Falls.
3 years later, T.D. Williamson changed career direction, which meant a family move to Dallas, then to San Antonio, to Houston, and finally to Tulsa to establish General Electric's first sales office in Oklahoma.
Tulsa was in the primitive developing stage. There were still muddy streets and cobbled sidewalks, and we had streetcars, not all over town, but down through town and out into the what we call suburbs then, which would be now in the main part of the city. But Tulsa was on the verge of its big growth because the oil fields south of here particularly were in a very great development stage, and the oil people found that while Sapulpa put up a big sign that says, "Welcome to the oil industry," Tulsa put up the Tulsa Hotel. And the hotel is what the men needed for their headquarters, and many million-dollar deals were closed in the lobby of the old Tulsa Hotel.
In 1920, T.D. Williamson made the decision to enter business for himself. He went to Dallas and appealed to the president of the Southwest General Electric Company for assistance.
He immediately called in his treasurer and said, "Give Mr. Williamson here a good line of credit so he can get started in the construction business." Then he said, "By the way, we don't have anybody to take your place up there. Would you mind staying on for a couple of months while you're getting your new company started, and also represent our company and then the sales work?" And I said, "Well, that'd suit me fine."
The association with General Electric had been a good one.
They're a wonderfully fine fellow. This president was Mr. Charles Hobson, and his brother, Harry Hobson, was the sales manager, who was quite liberal. In fact, we used to say millions for expenses, but not much for salaries.
The fledgling company was named the Petroleum Electric Company and operated in Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, building telephone, electrical, and distribution lines, and installing generators, motors, and transformers in the oil fields during the 1920s.
Then came the Depression, about 1928 to 30. Well, there wasn't any construction then at all. Everything shut down. So it behooved us to to disband the Petroleum Electric Company and start something new to make a living with. So the man that worked with me moved to Oklahoma City, and I established the Petroleum Engineering and Equipment Company, which became a sales agency for a number of electrical and other manufacturers, and a consultant on certain electrical appliances.
Anyone who was old enough remembers the Depression. T.D. Williamson Jr. was old enough. He had completed a year of college and came home to work with his father during the early Depression years.
The family business was operated from the home. Times were not all that good, but it was a rather traumatic experience one day for the bill collector to come to the house and take the family car because we had been unable to keep up the payments. So from that point on, Dad and I became first-class pedestrians. But fortunately, our home was not too far from the downtown area.
Mrs. Williamson was my right-hand arm through all of these experiences, and particularly during the Depression period. We moved to a home up on Reservoir Hill, and adjacent to the kitchen was a room. I guess it might have been used for help at one time, but we made that into an office, and Ms. Williamson occupied this office, and she would take telephone calls and orders while I was out beating the bushes trying to get the orders out in the field.
As the country emerged from the Depression, it bumped its head on World War II. Fuel needs were accelerated because of the war, and construction of the first big-inch oil pipelines met that need.
One day, Mr. A.N. Horn, who is also a godfather for us before, called me up and said, "T.D., can you make some cleaning tools for us for these 20 and 24-inch pipelines for the War Emergency Pipeline?" And he said the tools we're using just fall to pieces. So I said, "Well, Al, I've never built any, but I'll see what we can do." So we got in touch with the engineers at several of the pipeline companies and told them what our problem was, and they made suggestions, and we built tools for the War Emergency Pipeline, and they eventually furnished about 90% of the tools they used.
A company was born, and that company was T.D. Williamson Incorporated. Once born, a business assumes the character of its builder as surely as a painting its artist. It's reflected by its reputation in the marketplace and in the community. But mostly it's reflected by the people who do its work.
I got out of the Navy on the 11th of March on a Friday. Got home Sunday, went looking for a job Monday, and had an appointment with Mr. Williamson at 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon. He took me down to the shop and we talked. He looked at my application, and we were down by where the old lab used to be, and he said, Wendell, when can you go to work? I said, I can go to work now. He said, report to Troy Fanning in the morning. And I said, okay, and he said, now let's go talk to Ms. Williamson about your salary. So I was hired before I knew what I was going to make.
Probably one of the highlights of his career is that he has made so many friends around the world. And these are true friends because they respect him as a person every bit as much as they respect the product he's always made. I think this is important.
He's a man who will look at all the facts and listen to what you have to say and make up his mind and make his decision, and you go on from there, and there's nothing that hangs over your head from that point on. There's a clean-cut, okay, that settled that issue, we'll go on to the next one. And I think that's beautiful.
Mr. Williamson never referred to us as employees. We were all fellow workers because he is this way in everyday life.
He looked after people the same way as he looked after his business.
I believe he would go to great lengths not to impose upon the dignity of an individual and still be fair and be firm enough to do whatever needed to be done, but preserve that individual's dignity.
I think that you must consider that everybody is an individual. He likes to be treated as such and on a friendly basis. So that's the way T.D. and I have attempted to build up our own organization through friendship, through fair treatment, and through encouragements that if there's an opportunity for advancement, to see that they get that opportunity to try it. The hobnobbing with the employees on occasions, especially at the Christmas party, and when you see them at the plant or on the street, why, you know them and they know you. I think that means a whole lot.
Footprints. There have been detours in man's climb, but his footprints have always pointed forward, and forward is the future.
High aims and high ambitions and high principles, I think those are the things that we want to keep in mind regardless of the size of the company. But with those in mind, it's bound to grow along with the industry which is spreading so fast over the world. I just admire our younger generation coming on. I think that they're just the world's winners. And I like the way they bring up questions. They don't take everything for granted, but they have the ideas of their own. I think the present generation has every opportunity for their own advancement and for the improvement of others.
And if they should stop and listen, what should be said to them?
I tell them to learn all you can and keep your feet on the ground. Take care of yourselves. Don't smoke or drink, because that's a deterrent to your thoughts and to your actions and to your livelihood and to your health later.
What about this country?
If we could get things straightened out now, well, I think this country is just beginning to get into its prime.
Most of us create at least a ripple, others more lasting impressions. And there are those few builders whose building plans extend beyond themselves to touch the lives of many.
Everybody who knows my dad certainly must be aware of the fact that one of his outstanding characteristics is his optimism. He never admitted defeat in his life, as far as I know, and of course it's simply because he never felt defeated. Once in a while he has a serious illness, and he'll admit that. But even then, he'll tell you he's going to be back on his feet in no time at all. And generally he is. As a matter of fact, this has been pretty much the story of his life. In part, I think it's been due to his relaxed, optimistic outlook on life. And of course, on his own part in it.
Well, you're never satisfied with what you accomplish, and you feel that maybe there's more could be done in advancement and improvement, but I guess at my age you just have to be more or less satisfied with what you've got and not demand too much more. But I think the future looks very, very bright for the company and for the country and for our employees in particular.
I saw